And what's up, everybody? We're live right now.
Hey, Brandon.
Hello.
How's it going?
Going awesome. Well, thank everybody for tuning in. If you're listening on the audio and you can't see right now, I've got Mr. Philip Shouse from Ace's band. I've got Matt Starr from Ace's band. And then we got Mike Brunn, the host.
I'm Ace Frehleys tonight.
Yeah, we got Ace Frehleys here. I always wondered what you look like without the makeup on, man.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right, we'll go ahead and get this shared real quick, and I'll tag you guys all in it so we can get it out to all of our faithful followers, and they can listen to us talk about Kiss for 8 hours for the third time in the last week. So, yeah, there's never enough Kiss, though. That's the way I look at it. So,
isn't that true?
Yeah, we're actually, thank y'all for tuning in. We're going to do the Elder anniversary tonight, which was yesterday.
Get the Japanese pressing because they do all the heavy songs on one side and then they do the other.
That's right.
Dude, I love that cover that's on the Japanese version of that one.
Yeah, the band's on the cover too, right?
Totally. Yeah. What someone goes, hey, you know, it's a Kiss album. Should we put their picture on the cover like all the other records? Other than the door? I mean, the door's nice. Nice door.
I was going to say, what's wrong with the door?
Yeah. I like the doors, but, you know.
The door doesn't scream Kiss to me for some reason. I don't know why.
It doesn't scream Kiss, yes.
That album doesn't scream Kiss to me, really. So,
Yeah,
but you know, there's stuff on it that can be appreciated. Like, I really like the Oath up until kind of the chorus. The chorus is a little.
I like it. I like the record as a whole. I do.
Yeah, I've learned to like it a lot more than I used to when I first discovered it. And I mean, Ace's song on that sounds like an Ace song, so that's pretty relatable off of that off that record.
Yep.
Yeah, Philip, or does anyone? What was that song called? Oh, Don't Run. Was that the original thing?
Yep.
Yeah,
Don't run.
Which isn't better than Dark Light. I was wondering if it was something else. You know.
No.
Yeah, and then Lou Reed got a hold of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, Lou did writing on that. I know he did World Without Heroes, which those are great lyrics.
Yeah, Lou Reed's on that one too. I've been on him so bad to do Escape from the Island in the live set. That
would be awesome.
Be great. Vocal break.
Yeah.
I mentioned that for Walk On Music too, at least.
Or exit music. Escape from the stage.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Matt breaks into a drum solo. You guys all just run.
We all run.
Well, cool. Let's go ahead and jump into this one. Released in 1976. This is the one that came after Destroyer, which, you know, Destroyer, that first one with Bob Ezrin was a little different than, you know, those first three in the live album.
Mm-hmm.
And there's conflicting opinions between all the guys about this record, you know. Peter and Ace were all about going back and sticking to like the first three albums to where it was more rock and roll. And Paul Stanley thought it was kind of regressing to go back to that sound opposed to staying towards the area that Bob Ezrin had started pushing them in. So, you know, it's cool. There's good aspects to both of the albums. So, you know, they definitely carried over some of that stuff that they were doing with Bob Ezrin, but it's a little refreshing to hear them do this kind of hard rock and roll stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think too, like, I don't, you know how Paul felt at the time. I don't know how he feels now looking back, but I would say Sonic Boom, they actually were aiming for that 76, not Destroyer. Like I feel like Psycho Circus was kind of Destroyer-esque if you had to compare it to a 70s record, but I would say Sonic Boom, and I think they even had used some demos from.
And the same guy did the album artwork for both the albums.
Yep.
Oh, okay, so there you go.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of similar a little, you know, with the four faces in the circle. So still very cool. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. Track 1, I Want You. What a way to fucking start the album. And this is one of their heaviest songs that the original four did. This one, I remember the first time listening to this album and just hearing that, and that fucking just like kick in with the snare to that first verse. That's really heavy by Kiss's standards.
Yeah, might be my favorite Kiss song. If I had to pick one with a gun held to my head, that might be it.
Wow.
Nice. It's up there for me for sure. It's not my favorite. Got to Choose will always be my favorite Kiss song, I feel like. But I Want You is up there because I love how heavy this track is, and great musicianship by all four of them. This is all four of them kind of playing at their best in the 70s, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I love, you know, like you were just saying, Destroyer was a little bit of a departure for Kiss at the time. And I love the way this starts with the acoustic guitar, and you're not sure, is this going to be like, again, a different Kiss album? And then Paul Stanley and it just kicks in. You're like, yeah, Kiss is there. And I love when they did this on the Hot in the Shade. So like you said, it's just a freaking great song.
Yeah, I think too, it's got Paul, showing his versatility, even if it's just in the intro, but then Hard Luck Woman kind of does some more of this thing, but like almost maybe getting back to his roots in some way. And then of course it just launches into a Kiss song, but to have that 12-string intro and that him singing like that, it's cool. And and it's a good fake too. I didn't think of that as a kid. If you bought the record and you're like, oh no, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Right.
And what a vocal too. His
one of Paul's best vocals for sure. And I love the way they did it on a live too, where he emphasizes he does that in the higher octave on that one. So it makes it a little bit heavier. And man, this is probably top 5 favorite Peter Criss drumming for me. Like he kills it on this song for me. Like I said, it's all 4 of them at their best in the 70s as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
And also had the video where they had the set, they did the videos for these songs. It was one of those, and it's like I can see him running down the stairs. And
was this the track that opened up Alive too?
Side 2, maybe.
Detroit Rock City, yeah.
Detroit Rock City, yeah. No, I'm trying to think of side 3. Is I Stole Your Love? No, it's like the 3rd or 4th song on side 3.
Okay, I don't know why I was thinking that it might have opened the album.
I Stole Your Love, Beth, God of Thunder, Then I Want You, and Shout Out Loud.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, I was totally off.
I've listened to it once or twice.
I say I trust your guys' judgment on that. So, like I said, that one sits pretty high up in my Kiss catalog. Fucking awesome opener for the album.
Agreed. Yep.
Moving on to track 2, the Take Me. This is, Paul's not really dancing around what he's trying to fucking say on this one. And another great heavy tune. These it's kind of really cool to me how they started this with 2 songs that were very heavy right off the bat, because Destroyer it had a little more melodic sense to it, with songs like Do You Love Me and then obviously Beth and things like that. So I think they really were trying to push that sound for going back to those first 3 albums. So where's this one sitting, y'all, for the album?
It's almost got like I don't say punk rock because that's not right, but like a glam or a down, 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 and then it goes in, then it goes into the Jimmy Page influence thing. But yeah, it's something that Paul hit on, I think, sort of with I Stole Your Love, Rock Bottom, Detroit Rock City. If you listen to the Detroit Rock City demo, it's really it's really aggressive. Again, I wouldn't call it punk rock, but it's almost Stooges-y or something. But it hits this thing that's really, really super cool. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's a really cool Paul song.
Yeah, I always thought he needed help getting his keys out of his pocket. But Gene would always tell a funny story about this song when we would play live. We would there's a similar story between this song, which we never did with him, and I Was Made for Loving You. So, Paul brings this song in and he's playing it. It's like, put your hand in my pocket. Oh, Paul, I like that. Grapple to my rocket. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Feels so good to see you, Lucille. Oh, man, that is cool. What's my part? Take me! No, really. What's my part? Take me!
Yeah, I remember when I was at the Vault Experience, he said the exact same story, and everybody was cracking up. I love the song, but I can't get out of my mind that Largo 77 videotape that we all have with those background vocals during the choruses. I'm just like, whoa, bring him down just a notch.
I think it's funny how Gene always has those opinions about his parts on the Paul song. Like he tells that similar story with I Was Made for Loving You. He's like talking about how heavy the verse is, and then he gets to the chorus and he's doing the falsetto part.
Yeah. But I remember being really surprised seeing that the Houston show on the VHS and like going, holy shit, that's Gene on the high vocal?
Right.
It was most of the time him. above Paul. When they would do a harmony, Paul would go low and Gene would go high. Which, of course, you don't think the demon's going to sing a high part.
Yeah,
So I was
exactly.
very shocked. But and that's got to be a Gene riff in the chorus, because Gene always did that da-da-da-da-da-da pattern on guitar. And all those songs, it's got to be. Is this a Stanley Simmons or is this a Stanley?
I think it's just Stanley. I think it's only Stanley, if I'm not mistaken. That doesn't mean he didn't have an influence in there, but fact check me.
I was going to say, we got it sitting here.
I think it's Stanley only, the first.
Stanley and Sean Delaney.
Oh, and Sean Delaney. There you go.
Yeah, he had 3 credits on this album, I'm pretty sure. Well, cool. All right, going on to the third one. This is top 3 Gene staple songs, Calling Dr. Love. And man, just to take away, not from Gene's part of the song, but Ace's solo on this, coming in with just the pull-offs on that, man. What a great way to start that fucking solo. And I think that's a common theme on this album, is that you kind of hear Ace stepping out of, I don't necessarily want to say his comfort zone, but it's a little more unconventional than what you really hear him doing on some of the other albums. So that's a really interesting part for me, is just that solo coming in with those pull-offs like that.
Big, and that big weird bit, long bit.
Yeah.
Going over notes.
As far as loving Ace's bends, that's one of my favorite things about Ace's playing are his bends. And you can't really get much more of a bigger bend from Ace than that fucking Dr. Love solo.
Yep. For me, and I'll say this, Phil, Matt, I wish you guys could get Ace to play this song, because that is probably my favorite solo of his. And I know he likes to do sometimes, songs that he didn't sing necessarily. I'd love to hear him continue to do that, because Brandon, I'm so glad you brought it up. That is probably my favorite Ace solo, any album. I just love the solo in Dr. Love. Love it. I thought I was the only one. As soon as he started saying it, I'm like, yeah, somebody else sings this too.
No, that one definitely sits pretty high up for me as far as Ace's solos go.
And the kills me is the 3-part harmony in the chorus. It's so great.
It's a little weird how they added in the really low monotone. It's because it's very loud in the mix too. It's quite prominent whenever you hear that. I remember when I first listened to this album as a teenager, and that part stuck out to me really, really well.
This is another one of those. This is another one of those ones that got remixed for double platinum, and it just sounds so good. Like what's his name, Mike Stone's remixes of some of those tracks, and it took me years as a kid when I listened and I go, oh, it starts off totally different than love, and everything sounds really fat, and there's some different production in there. But back to the Ace solo, I mean, I think Ace felt comfortable, or Eddie Kramer brought something out of Ace or whatever, but when Eddie's around, Ace plays really good, or plays better, I would say, you know what I mean? He plays great on all those 70s records, but that record and also too the, Love Gun 2, there's just some of that almost human, that kind of and all this kind of crazy Hendrix type of stuff, but Ace really, I think he got encouraged probably or whatever, but it's he really does that thing that we're talking about with it when Eddie's around,
Agreed.
Yeah, and Eddie gets some really good vocal takes out of Ace as well. I know Ace doesn't sing on this record, but that definitely, I agree with the sentiment that Eddie always brings out the best of Ace whenever he's around.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to me is that with all the original era albums, this is the only one that doesn't have an Ace Frehley co-write on it. So we talk about Eddie Kramer bringing out the best of Ace, yet there's no co-writes on this album. I always found very interesting. We know he had that Queen for a Day song that didn't make it onto the album, but there's nothing on the actual album with Ace co-writes.
I didn't think about that going into it.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Calling Dr. Love was actually an older song as well. I can't think of the demo that it
Mad
came.
Dog. Was it
Bad?
Mad?
No, Bad Lovin'.
Bad Lovin'.
Yeah. Which I didn't know that till earlier today whenever I was, reading up on the album, that this was an older tune.
And he got it. Where he got the title from the Three Stooges.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Calling Dr. Fine. He was in a hotel room watching the Stooges, and it was the episode where they're in the hospital. Calling Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how I got love, but
Right.
Exactly.
You know, I'll add one more thing if you guys don't mind. This is the song, the very first Kiss song I ever knew. So it'll always, for me, have a special place. I was 6 years old. My friend had the Destroyer poster in his room. So I knew who Kiss was. And then this song came on the radio. My mom and dad recorded it for me on a cassette. So that is, for me, I'll always, whenever I hear this song, I'll think of little 6-year-old me playing that cassette over and over again. Calling Dr. Love was, for a while, the only Kiss song I knew. So
wow.
That's awesome.
yeah.
Whenever I got my first real cell phone, this is like 2009,
Mm-hmm.
the two things I did to customize that phone, because it was, you know, everybody back in the day wanted to customize their phone with the ringtone and the skin on it and everything. So I got the Frankenstrat skin and stuck on the phone. It was like one of those little slide out keyboard text phones. So it was cased in the Eddie fucking Frankenstrat style, and my ringtone was calling Dr. Love. So the very first ringtone I ever customized on the cell phone was the chorus and calling Dr. Love, because I just thought, I was like, oh, that would be so cool if my ringtone is calling Dr. Love's.
Right. Nice.
I think good drumming on that song too. It's a very unique drum part for the verse for a heavy rock song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's Peter Criss's, jazz swing coming in full-fledged on that.
Cool.
It's
Pretty cool.
I love cowbell. I'm a sucker for good cowbell. So
Yeah.
just coming in right in that intro, right on that is fucking killer.
And it took me a long time to get the intro right, because it's like 1, 2, da da da. Because then I would hear it flipped, because there's no count in the beginning, so you can't like 1, 2, 3, 4. It was one of those songs where it was like, oh, there's the one when the drums finally come in. So it took a lot of listens to get that figured out.
Yeah, and they give Peter that big drum break, after the second chorus, which is just kind of cool, I don't know if they didn't know what to do, and they were like, hey, let's do that or what, but and that verse is really interesting. Yeah, and I cut a version of this song with Burning Rain with Doug Aldrich and Keith St. John. And
nice.
Keith was like, make it heavier, and I'm like, I kind of the chorus I can, but like the verse, you either have to ignore that groove totally, which is kind of not, kind of hard to do, or if you play it like really heavy, it's just you sound like an idiot. You know what I mean? So I'm like, just let me do the verse the way it is, because it's got that little thing, and it's just that's how it needs to go. Again, unless you're gonna just make it like total butt rock and have it just be really, really dumb, And so that's just more points for Peter,
Yeah, and out of all the original Makeup albums, I think you can make the argument that this was Peter Criss's best drumming overall on an entire album. And a lot of that, I think, the sound really helps with Peter cut this in a bathroom, correct? And was communicating with a video link with everybody, to count it in. And they always say that this was Kiss's most live album, even compared to like a live 1 or 2, because they cut that at the theater, and all of them were literally recording it live on that stage in there, obviously besides Peter, who was in the Johns. So I think that definitely adds to a whole other perspective with Peter's drums, and he's just playing his ass off on the whole record.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, cool. Going on to song number 4, Ladies Room. Talk about cowbell fucking going into the chorus.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fucking killer.
Mm-hmm.
Where's this guy sitting with you on the album?
I mean, this one is like so uniquely Gene, and it's not really a demon song per se, but it's like, it's got the Kiss, that little thing. But once it kicks in, it's the bass lines walk in. It's a great story. It's fun, Yeah, I think it's just this one kind of feels like true Gene in a way, where it's like this is his roots are in there, and it just worked with Kiss. But yeah, I love that song, and there's I love the live version. I love how Kiss would sing things differently live. Like certainly Paul, especially as the years went on, once you get to 1980s, like in the stratosphere, but he just kept like changing the melodies, and it's like, that's just something I love. And usually guys, would not sing the melody because they couldn't hit the notes, but no, Kiss is going, no, we can hit the notes. We're actually going higher.
Yeah.
We're going to add more energy. And it was such a cool thing. And like that live 2 version of Ladies Room is just awesome. You know,
This is another one that's an older track as well, I'm pretty sure.
Put me on that one.
Which one was Mad Dog, Mike? You would know that.
That was I thought it was Flamin' Youth. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Flamin' Youth, right?
Okay, I'll stop suggesting that one then.
Yeah, but this is one, Phil. I don't know why Gene hasn't been open to doing this more, right? Because I agree with you, Matt, that this oozes Gene. Everything about this oozes Gene. I thought it sounded great live. 76, 77 sounded great, and then it just disappeared. And I remember on the reunion tour, this is one of the biggest requests fans had. You know, when's Ladies Room coming out? Nothing. Kiss Cruises every year. Oh, you guys should do Ladies Room. They did it 1 year, dropped it, never to be seen again. I was convinced, Phil, when Gene was on that solo tour, this would be a staple. And I think you guys did it like once. I'm like, what the hell does Gene have against this song?
I think we did it twice. I'll tell you how we got it in the set list too.
Yeah.
So we had done a gig on his birthday in Edmonton. And it was sorry for those of you that were there, it was our worst show. And it was all kinds of problems. And it was in this weird big hall. And that was when he was telling Michael Jackson jokes on stage. And Shannon was there, and he would start talking, and you'd hear Shannon, "Will you shut up?" So we get back to, we played Christine 16 that night. And so we get back in the dressing room, and Shannon and Sophie are there, and they're looking at, and Sophie's like, "Dad, Christine 16, you got to cut." And he's like, "What? Why do we got to cut it?" It's like, "Dad, it's kind of rapey." And so we're all there laughing, and they're going, "Yeah, you're 70, you know, you can't do it anymore." And he kind of turns to us and goes, "What should we play?" And I suggest Ladies Room. Nice. So that one, probably more rapey than Christine 16.
Yeah. I'll meet you in the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of waiting outside of school for you, I'll meet you in the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. That was at the top of our list to get on that Gene set list. And we got it on a couple times. We played it. It was great fun.
It was.
And I did just find it. Ladies Room was a rework of an older song.
What's that?
I Don't Want Your Romance, I think is what it was called. Don't Want Your Romance is the demo that this song was based off of. It's still, Simmons is the only one with a writing credit on it. So, but it was an older song nonetheless.
I got to go back and listen to that. I never noticed.
I don't want to. Wait, sorry.
No.
Right.
I just got like 3 of these bootlegs from Yugoslavia that has like nothing but demos on it. And I don't want to open them, so I'm going to have to find on YouTube. Normally, and Matt Starr actually stuck this kind of mindset in me because I had a few records that I hadn't opened like whenever we started the whole Minefield project. And Matt was like, you know, if I can't open it and listen to it, what's the point in having it? You said something to the effect of that. And then I opened a few of my records that I'd been waiting. But these 3, they're like limited numbers. There's only like 300 of each record. So this is one I can kind of justify a little not opening. I actually sent Jeremy one of the Paul records. So I'm going to have to be like, dude, when you open that, let me know what it looks like because I don't want to open mine.
Is it limited to 300 because the printing press broke in Yugoslavia? Or?
Actually, here, I'll grab it real quick and show you guys.
They're like, shit, we're out.
Limited edition.
Exactly.
Yeah, just put limited edition, be fine.
All right,
they love that shit.
This is the Paul one that I sent Jeremy.
Oh, that's cool.
And but the picture on the back is with Vinny in makeup and Eric Clark. But the demos are, let's see, it'll probably be backwards. But, you know, I think a lot of these demos are still from the original lineup. And then Aces, you know, they all say that there's only 300 of each, but who the fuck really knows with only bootlegs? There could be 10,000 of them. But I can't find anything online about these, so I'll have to get Jeremy to open his up and show me what the hell it looks like.
Yeah, nice.
All right, moving on to the first Peter Criss vocal of the album, Baby Driver. Matt, why don't you start the discussion on this one since you're the drummer?
Yeah, it's great. And again, I said this on the last one, you know, almost all of the vocals I'd have to go through, but the majority of the vocals on this record, in most Kiss records, the lead vocals doubled, and Peter's never doubled. And I, I just think it's because you listen. And again, I would like to hear Paul and Gene not double because they don't need it either. But it was a thing. But I think you hear Peter Criss do one take, you're like, yeah, that's great. And there's rarely any production on it either. There's not delay or reverb. I mean, there might be verb, but it's pretty much just here's the vocal. Hard Luck Woman is like almost sounds bone dry, and it's just like, yeah, it's a great vocal. We're good, So yeah, it's a cool song. It's got that Peter Criss rock and rolly thing, man, but it's Kiss clearly, and I love the heaviness, and I love, that we talked about this last time too. How Kiss took from Humble Pie, where the guitar and bass will play the same thing, and this one just literally starts nobody else guitar and bass just go gong 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 gong, and it's so Kiss,
Yeah. Yeah, good drums. I love the when it gets later in how the guitar harmonies build, the descending line. That's great. Speaking of demos, there's a really cool version of Gene singing this, and it sounds like ZZ Top.
Yep.
And
I'll have to go check that out.
It's kind of the same tempo, if I remember right. It's pretty much the same thing. It sounds way dirtier because it's just they're teaching it the song, but yeah, he's singing it, and it's kind of like a like a Billy Gibbons type low thing. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I love this tune. It's swing. It bounces. It feels great. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that demo also that you're talking about, and I'm wondering. I think on the writing credits, it's Peter and Brandon. If you saw the album, I think it's Sean Pendridge. It's on a writing credit on this also.
Okay, probably yeah.
I don't have the insert. Phil's got the insert, so. Well,
okay,
actually,
so Phil could, nice.
I've got the CD actually, so.
Okay.
So it's.
Okay.
So that's is it an old
that's what I'm wondering.
Thing?
That's what I'm wondering. I have a feeling it is.
I think this was. I think I read that this was before Peter was in Kiss. Actually, one of those songs.
Oh, Chelsea or Lips or something.
The Lips one,
Lips,
I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But cool. I wonder, like you said, Gene's doing that singing, that rehearsal. I wonder if they ever actually considered having Gene sing it on the album, which to me wouldn't fit. This is such a Peter song, and I love his vocal on this.
Oh, okay.
When I heard that demo when it surfaced like 3 years ago, I was like, wow, did they at one point consider Gene to sing this song? I think they made the right choice going with Peter, but that's interesting to listen to.
Peter's vocals are always fantastic. I'm a big fan of Peter's voice, so I wish that we could have got some more of these like heavy songs that Peter was singing, like Baby Driver and like Strange Ways, and then Black Diamond, obviously that's pretty fucking heavy. So Peter's voice is always good in my book.
Agreed. And Brandon, Peter did do this song a couple of shows in '95 live. So if you're interested in seeing him doing it live, you got to check it. You can find it on YouTube. I know it's out there. For about a few weeks, I think he did it during '95 live.
I watched a video from that time period the other day where it was the first time he had done Dirty Living live.
Yep.
And that's top 3 Peter Criss songs for me. That might be my favorite Peter Criss song.
And was that an acoustic performance you saw?
Yeah, I think, but there was somebody playing drums. I think it wasn't Peter; he was out front. But I think
he was out front.
Yeah, but they might have had a drummer in the back. But it was still definitely acoustic.
Right. No, this is a full-on electric performance. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm like, damn, I was giving it a try. So
I'll have to go check that out for sure. All right, let's see I think we're flipping over to side 2 now.
I do know.
Yeah.
Love 'em, leave 'em. This is. As far as like Kiss's choruses go, where they're singing together, this one sits pretty high up on my catalog. I love the chorus in this song.
Absolutely love everything about this song. Again, it's so Gene. It may be the most Gene of Gene vocals. Just killer, and it's great because there's so many things happening, like guitar and bass wise. There's 2 guitar parts, independent. Once I think the second verse hits. And the bass it's really, really arranged incredibly well. And even the beginning has like 2 or 3 guitar parts doing little different voicings of the high, that thing. It's really smartly done. And then again, all I see is the video
on the bass.
Not even playing it. Just like,
never used a pick. He just like flapping his hand around.
That's right.
Totally.
But, I know we'll talk about the guitar solo in a minute. It's awesome. Everything about this song is great.
A lot of great Ace solos on this record for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love all the space. I always love songs with space, and there's times when Gene makes me uncomfortable. You know what I mean? It's like Paul, in Take Me. I mean, that's so blunt, but he's just got a way of saying it that it's like cool. I mean, she's Dancer, Romancer, I'm a Capricorn, she's a Cancer. I mean, on paper, it's like, okay, whatever. But when he sings it, it's like, that's fucking Shakespeare, man. Like, how'd you think of that, dude? But then some of Gene's are just so blunt. And this is the one I'm just like, ugh. But it's a great track. They started off the second side with it because they knew that. And yeah, it works, man. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. It's a solid track. Probably of the Gene songs on the album, I hate to say it might be my least favorite of the album, but that says a lot because I love this album. I don't think there's a weak track on the album. But when I think of Dr. Love, Ladies Room, See You in Your Dreams, Love 'Em, Leave 'Em, of the four, this may be fourth. Where other albums, it might be first or second, but that to me says more about the album than the song.
Yeah, I love on the whole record, this song is a really good example of how good Peter's snare sounded. On this whole record, like in the
right in the intro,
when he's just doing those one hits, and then the quick stuff, it just sounds massive and just like so, like crispy, I guess to it.
Yeah,
it sounds so purple and yellow.
This is definitely the Peter's drums on this album sound fucking fantastic.
It cracks so hard. It's his snare especially on this one.
They sound. There's a realness to them, and I always feel like Eddie's good with the overheads, like he just gets kind of this real rock and roll-y kind of thing, and side 4 of the Live 2 has that, and then that Fastway album has it too. It's that overhead thing that captures kind of the snare, but the snare's not in your face. You just hear it kind of as you would if you were in the room. So yeah, I agree with that. Kick drum. There is a kick drum, though. I would like to hear more kick drum. I mean, we heard kick drum on Yellow Submarine. There's no reason we can't have kick drum on a Kiss record 10 years later. Like they had the technology. It's not Bill Haley in the comments,
That's great. Kind of bouncing off what you said, Matt, about Gene sometime making you feel uncomfortable. The first song that kind of comes to mind with me, obviously besides Christine 16 during that little break after the chorus, Charisma, just that first verse, I think, and it was more of when I saw the video of you guys playing it with him, where he's kind of just doing that, like he's basically like pinching his nipple almost while he's singing it. And that's funny that Matt brings that up. Oh yeah, that's what he was doing.
He always pulled this shit back.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind whenever you bring up Gene sometimes making you feel uncomfortable about his lyrics was Charisma, and watching that live. Like I said, not necessarily the album version, but him on stage, just fucking fooling with himself. Well, cool. All right, let's move on to the next song, Mr. Speed. This is about as classic Kiss you can get as this tune, and I think this is more of it's kind of unconventional as far as Ace is playing too on this one. I don't like I said, I don't want to say that he's stepping outside his comfort zone, but you kind of hear him taking some different directions than he normally would. Phil, what do you think about this tune?
Yeah, this song is really hard to sing and play if you're the Paul person in the band, because we did it a few times just with different things, and the riff is really great, but it's so slidey. It's tough to look and sing and do the thing. It's a really good riff, a classic Paul riff. I mean, it's got this is Paul written all over it. Lyrically, I always thought it was funny. It's like, you want to be called Mr. Speed? Okay. Mm-hmm. Later on we learn he makes girls feel okay. So maybe it's Mr. Speed. But I've always liked this one too. I know that's why they never did it, because it's a devil to play. It really is.
Go
ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, that's interesting to me to hear, because I've always said, to me, there's one of the most underrated songs in the catalog, simply because Kiss never played it, right? I know they did part of it in Japan in 2001, and then they did it on the cruise, right? But they've never played it in full in concert, and I've always wondered why, because the song kicks all kinds of ass to me. It's one of the great Paul Stanley songs. So hearing you talk about how difficult it is to play, I'm like, well, maybe that's why. But damn, I wish they gave it a shot, because this song I love, kicks ass big time.
And it is quintessential, like Paul, like you said, filling in. It's also quintessential Kiss because of that.
Yes.
And like a lot of bands could never do this song, but Kiss does it, and you're like, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And it's a funny one like that. To me, this could easily be on Dress to Kill.
Oh yeah.
I think partly because of the guitar sound, and it's just in that kind of vein of some of those tunes.
I can see that totally.
Yeah.
And it's weird that they never played this because, you know, to the casual fan, this isn't a song that they would even know about. But everybody who is a big Kiss fan, this is, you know, it's one of the mecca songs, I feel like. So it's really weird seeing that contrastual difference between the casual fans and the diehards that are like, it's Mr. Speed is always consistently in like the top 10 of everybody's Kiss songs for the most part, especially the 70s era.
Yeah. It's just if you're Paul, I mean, that doesn't mean you couldn't do it or whatever, but my experience was it was tough to sing it and play it, every part of it. And I haven't mentioned a lot about Gene's playing, but Gene's obviously one of my favorite bass players, and this chorus is fantastic. It's just such a great, the way he hits the chords, then plays around everything, plays around the melody. His bass line in this chorus is fantastic.
Gene's one of the most underrated bassists of all time, and we've said it before on here. It's a lot of that has to do with people won't take off the fucking sunglasses of hating on Gene for, you know, the business side and all that kind of shit. But
he doesn't give himself enough credit.
Agreed.
Yeah.
He will not take credit musically for anything.
Yeah, he's always saying that a different band did it first.
Yeah, he wouldn't do it. But no, his playing is fantastic on this song in particular.
Yeah, not just this song, Gene's bass playing overall. Some great walking bass lines on all of that stuff.
Sure.
And I think
like Strutter, the bass line is incredible to me.
Yeah, one of the best bass lines in Kiss's catalog, as far as I'm concerned. And I think one of the reasons that I like the MTV Unplugged so much is that you really got to see Gene doing those bass lines, you know, up close and personal. And how about the fact that he can fucking sing and play those things at the same time? How hard does that have to be to do those walking bass lines with those vocals that just don't match up to it at all?
He was such a McCartney guy, and he loved it. And that was, you know, of course, all the Funk Brothers and the Stax guys, all those guys he loved too. But, you know, McCartney was it, you know, the heavy metal Beatles. And so he trained himself to do all the Paul stuff, sing completely different rhythms than he was playing. So, yeah, he's great.
Yeah. You know, Brandon, one other thing I wanted to, go ahead, Matt, you first this time.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's so underrated. And then if you watch him, you know, by the time he's like 76, playing the bass line, singing, and then every second he's not singing, he's sticking out his tongue, making a face, pointing.
Yes.
Like it is not, and he's still so active, and he's older, and he's not as thin as he once was. And I'm always amazed at like, fuck, and he's got that costume, and those, you know, those things weigh, you know, dozens and dozens of pounds depending on the costume. Yeah. Again, it's I think, you know, fans of music, it's almost like a wrestling thing where you go, oh, wrestling's fake. Okay, yeah, but you jump off the thing and throw the guy, you know, like it's fake. You do it. And the same thing with Kiss, like, oh, it's all a show. Well, that's not true. But anyway, okay, sure, it's just a show. Great. So you put on the makeup and you put on the costume and the heels and you go out there and, you know, 200 nights a year do what they do. It's like you can't even handle it, man, you know?
No, I agree. The fact that they're 70 years old, right? Let's not lose sight that they're 70 years old. And like you said, Matt, doing that 200 nights a year, I think if I did it one night, I'd be like, oh, I'm exhausted. That's it. You know, I need to rest tomorrow. The fact they do that at night is freaking amazing. And like you said, Gene's always so active on the stage all night. It's just freaking incredible to me.
Yeah.
And I've heard that Gene does kind of acknowledge how tough it is with all that equipment and everything. When I came to watch you guys play in Whitesburg, my friend that I brought with me is in a Kiss tribute band here in Kentucky called Dress to Kill, and he plays Gene. And he's a big guy too, probably 6'2", 6'3". His name is Mike Collins. Anybody that's listening, go check out Dress to Kill, an awesome Kiss tribute band. But anyway, they got to do a Comic-Con thing in Knoxville like full costume show, and Gene Simmons was there. That's why they got asked to play, is because Gene was going to be there doing some stuff. And this is probably like 2015 or 16, and said that it was before or after they got done playing, Gene came back there and, was kind of hanging out with all of them and talking to them. And he said that Gene came up to him and was like, you get hot and all that stuff? And he was like, oh yeah, of course. And he asked him how old he was, and he's like, I'm like 42, and said that Gene like patted him on the back and was like, yeah, try doing this when you're pushing fucking 70. Like, so it's kind of cool to hear stuff like that when, like you say, Gene won't really acknowledge the musical side of it so much, but he definitely knows how hard it is and the work that he puts in to do that stuff. And it's still to this day, with them being like 70 years old, they still don't miss a beat with all of that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Well, cool. All right, let's keep moving on down the line. See You in Your Dreams, another Gene Simmons tune.
This is a great one. We did this at rehearsal. We messed with this at rehearsal once.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Nice.
did you do the Rock and Roll Over version or the 78 solo album version?
I think we were leaning towards the 78 solo album.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so I can't remember why it was that one, but we did mess with it. But yeah, I love this tune. I'm not even sure which version I like better. I like them both, kind of, on their own merit. Yeah, great tune. Has that classic Gene riff, the major thing with the minor walk down, the da 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 thing he always does. Yeah, and it's funny. I can now tell on Gene's songs, it's pretty much him playing rhythm guitar, like on every one. Mm-hmm. Like Ladies Room, Dr.
Yeah,
Love.
Ladies Room, when I was looking at the Wikipedia, that's the one he is credited on for playing rhythm.
Yeah, I can hear him now, like on that, and also Love Him, Leave Him. I can hear his fingers kind of not as
up to speed. Not like he's just, it's, I don't know the correct word. He's not like, he's maybe like a millisecond off of what Ace is doing,
Yeah, he's not as nimble fingered. He's a bass player, so bigger and
heavy-handed.
Heavy-handed, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love this tune. Good vocal too. It's great.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool. I love the way it starts. And then when I heard, I had his solo album, but I probably listened to it once and was like, okay, I don't fully understand this. So I went back to Paul and Ace's. But then, later when I listened to it, I was like, oh fuck, like it's in his way is like on his solo record is in a way heavier. It's like more rocking, even though Kiss is stripped down and there's no, there's not all these Michael DeBars and is Peg Bundy on this too?
Yeah,
I think so. Yes.
Right. She has a real name. It's not her. It's not the character. I can't.
Katie Seagal.
Thank
Katie
you. Yeah, I
Seagal.
couldn't think of her. I couldn't think of her name. Sorry, but yeah. So I done all this stuff, but yeah, when that it's just the chorus is just rocking. Like it just gets fucking cooking, and the key and there's a piano in there, like
on the solo album version. I think there might be piano.
Yeah, I think the solo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good song, but it just shows you too, like a good song you can work it a few different ways and it still works,
Yeah, that's cool. I just got the solo album box set, and so I just listened to that one the other day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the ending choruses are a lot more like dancey than this one, and I love how the vocals does the together and then does the call and response thing. He was always really good at, or I don't know, his songs, I guess, always lent themselves to really cool arrangement ideas, like with that kind of stuff, vocally and guitar and stringed instrument wise. Always smartly done.
Great stuff. Bouncing into the comments section on the Facebook Live video. This is going back to the songs that Gene sings that make you uncomfortable sometimes. Rosie Lux says, Domino. I loved it when I was young, but I see it if the kids are in the car now. And that's it. It's kind of like a 90s Christine 16 almost. That's
Good call out by Rosie.
And like you were saying, how they would sing some of the stuff different live. I love the way they did it at the Unplugged, where the last line of each verse, Gene would kick it up an octave, opposed to the record. I feel like he was going for that more dirty, just kind of monotone sound.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I just wanted to read off that from the comment section because that's kind of funny. All right, keep it going. Yeah. Hard Luck Woman. And I've read like two different stories about this song. I've heard that I think Paul said that Peter was asking to sing this, but then I've also read that it was Gene's suggestion for Peter to sing it.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody but Peter singing this song. I mean, this is Maggie May written for Peter Criss. You know, it's what this is.
They wrote it, I think, with Rod
Exactly
in mind, or I don't know if they were trying to get it to Rod Stewart.
Well, Paul Stanley is the sole writer on this one, and from what I read, from what he said in his book was that he was listening to like Maggie May and songs like that by Rod Stewart, and he was like, well, I could write something like that, and then that's how he did this, and he was going to give it to Rod Stewart, and then that's where the conflicting stories come in, where I think Paul says that Peter was asking to sing it, but then there's also stories of Gene was the one that was pressuring for Peter to sing it. So who knows? But they definitely made the right choice with letting Peter have this. This is one of my favorite Peter vocals.
Yep.
Agreed. And you know what? I love the version that's on Double Platinum. Matt, you were mentioning before some of the mixes on Double Platinum. I love the way they remix this, where it starts with just the acoustic guitar and Peter singing, and then it's like, I think right after the first verse, the drums come, and then it kicks in. I think that's a great mix. I love the way that sounds.
It's cool, and there's some really nice guitar work. Like I don't think Ace gets credit as an acoustic guitar player because he's an electric guy. But like he does some really cool stuff. His solo album has a lot of cool things, and again, Eddie Kramer, like his guitars are his forte, and there's some really nice guitar layering on this track. You know,
good 12-string work, which doesn't always work in everything. So it really does is well and nice. This is one song that when I was younger, and into the bombastic heavy stuff, I didn't like this song. I'd skip it. Now it's absolutely one of my top Kiss songs.
Oh, for sure. It's really high up in my Kiss catalog.
So I'd be remiss if I don't ask, what do you guys think of the Garth Brooks version?
I mean, as far as country music goes, it's great. I think it actually fit him quite well. And Garth Brooks is one of those country guys who's not shy to let people know that he's a huge rock and roll fan. So
different was it? Well, he pretty much just cut it like
it was. It was literally the exact same thing with him singing it for the most parts. And he's a good singer, so it's not like you can really mess it up too bad.
Absolutely.
I feel like go ahead.
I was gonna say, I remember being a fan during that time when that was cut, and Kiss was definitely on another one of their downturns, and it wasn't cool to be a Kiss fan again in 93, 94. And they cut that with Garth Brooks, who was at that point top of the world. I mean, there's nobody bigger than Garth Brooks. I remember they did it on the Tonight Show. I think it was with Jay Leno, if I remember right. It was so cool to see my guys on TV playing a Kiss song with the guy that was the biggest guy on the planet at that time. To me, I was like, hey, it's still cool to be a Kiss fan, maybe,
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, no, and it lends itself to a country song. It's a country-ish song. And Maggie May's a country type song anyway, you know what I mean? So it totally works. But I'd like to hear him cover Escape from the Island. I think that would if he's such a big Kiss fan, come on.
And Garth Brooks still to this day is still one of the biggest fucking artists there is. The dude can go to any stadium and sell it out within like 5 fucking minutes of tickets being released for it. Staying on this song, I think it is fucking criminal how it was not included on MTV Unplugged on the like actual releases of that for the CD or the vinyl, because I think Paul Stanley fucking killed it singing this. And you would think that a show specifically catered to acoustic Kiss songs, they would put the one on there that was actually a fucking acoustic song.
And Peter's gonna be there.
Yeah, and that's, I've read some comments about that where they're like, oh, they did Peter dirty having him there and not letting him sing. And it was like, no, well, this is Paul Stanley's song. He wrote this. So I think it was a cool experience for Paul to sing it. But I fucking hate how it is not on any of the releases.
And it's a few years since I've watched it, but I think they did perform it that night, right, Brandon? And they just didn't put it on the album.
Yeah, no, the video is like on YouTube, and it's a fantastic performance. And I just can't believe that they didn't include it on any of the releases. I've got to find like an MTV Unplugged bootleg that somebody stuck that on there. That's the next thing I'm looking for.
And then also too, I might be wrong. it's happened in the past. Ask my wife.
Welcome to the club, Matt.
Isn't when Peter went to the kind of the first Kiss convention that he went to that he sat in and sang?
Yes, he did.
Hard Luck Women too. Yeah. So surprising. You know, I never thought about that, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the first song that he had played with him whenever he came down. And the story is so cool about that because everybody, and Eric Singer addressed it because everybody liked to call bullshit that Gene said that Eric's actually the one that suggested that he play a song with them. But Eric totally collaborated on that statement that Gene called him and asked him if he thought if he was okay with Peter coming down, because there's a lot of tension with those original four guys. You don't know how the new guy is going to feel about that. You don't want to make him uncomfortable or anything. But Eric is like, no, when Gene said that, I was like, well, how about we have him do a song with us? And it's like, that's Eric Singer's Kiss fan side coming out of it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I think it was one of the cruise videos I was watching the other day. It was actually Mike. It was on your channel, I think.
Okay.
Where it was Tommy Thayer doing the Name That solo.
Oh yes. Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm.
And Tommy was like, "Look, me and Eric are always pushing for these songs." So I love that those guys are still like, "No, we're as much as Kiss fans as anybody," and they're fucking in the band. So that definitely resonates a lot with people, I think.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And with me, it does.
No, with me as well.
Well, I remember when we did the cover of Fire and Water and Paul sang, and then Ace called me in the morning and was like, hey, you know this song Fire and Water by Free? I'm like, yeah. He goes, we're going to record it. Or he goes, learn it. I go, what? Okay, I got it. Now what? He's like, so he was like, well, we're going to record it today and Paul's going to sing. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, awesome, amazing. So we do the song, and then, so I'm just like waiting. Like we cut it, you know, and listen to it. Sounds really good. Okay, great. So who are you thinking about for bass? And he's like, well, I don't know, because maybe Gene would be, you know, this would be cool for, yeah, you know, maybe, I don't know, I mean, I might cut bass. Yeah, but Gene would be cool. I mean, I just kept, you know, I mean, as soon as he said, you know, Paul's singing on it, I'm like, okay. And I'm like driving to the studio going, we got to get Gene on bass. We got to get Gene on bass. We got to get Gene on bass. So again, to Eric's point, like, yeah, you know, like, are you offended that, you know, the original drummer's going to come? He's like, no, can we jam together? Can he sing a song while I play drums? You know, it's like, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was Eric got to play on stage with Peter, so you can definitely see the resonance of him being a fan, because he's like, I'm getting on stage with the original guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's every time I hear that version now that Ace did of Fire and Water, I always think of that story of you being pressuring for Gene to play bass on it. And just how cool would that have been? It would have literally been Kiss with Matt Starr on drums.
That's right.
Right. And he had Chris Wise playing on some stuff. And I'm friends with Chris. They had played before, but when we were doing the record, he was like, you know any bass players? I go, yeah, I think Chris would be cool. But he was like, well, maybe I'll have Chris. I'm like, no, Chris has done enough songs. Listen, get Gene. I'll buy Chris some Guinness and I'll smooth that over. You just fucking call Gene.
That's fucking great. And that would have been so cool. And I fucking love that version of it. And, you know, with everybody knows that Paul's kind of had some trouble with his voices over the last decade, and he had the surgery and everything. But I think he really found a super comfortable range for this for him, to where it wasn't like, you weren't, the first thing you didn't say whenever you heard it was like, oh, Paul Stanley dropped it down a lot. It's like, no, that fucking fits very well. And he kind of stayed true to the original with Paul Rogers, who's a fucking fantastic vocalist as well. But for nowadays, you know, a great fucking vocal track from Paul Stanley, you know, who gets some shit over his voice. But this is a track you can always refer to. It's like, no, Paul still got it whenever, you know, he wants to do it and everything.
Yeah, no, he killed it, and there were Paul Stanley. I mean, I remember Ace was like, "Hey, here's the track." Paul put his vocals. I'm like, "All right," I'm listening, you know, and it's like I'm waiting for those Paul moments, and you know, and they're there. I mean, there's those. It's like, okay, here's the melody. Yeah, fine, but do some Paul shit, and he did. And I thought he sounded great.
Absolutely.
Fucking fantastic. You got to get Paul to show up to a gig one night and do that tune with you.
Amen. I agree.
And then Jeremy can finally get Paul's signature on his Alive 2 record.
Yeah.
Because I remember him talking about how Paul's the only one that hasn't signed that one that he bought as a kid. And
that's funny.
Jeremy, I'm going to pull this text up that Jeremy sent me right before we started. And he just said, for the record, Rock and Roll Over was my least favorite original makeup record.
What?
He said, over the
Wow.
years, it climbed the ranks and it sits around the top now. And I would love to hear him kind of elaborate on that a little, as why it was it was at the bottom of it. And as I say that, I think that out of the originals, I think the only one I would rank below it is Destroyer. But I'm not saying I don't fucking love it. It's all those original 70s albums are great. But I would definitely take the first three and Love Gun over Rock and Roll Over.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's a very bold statement to make by text, Jeremy.
Yeah. I hope he's watching
He's
right
like-
now. Just
He's like, I'm not really a fan. Send.
and everybody's wondering why he's not here tonight. No.
Right.
Well,
my
cool.
favorite, my number one.
We got one song left on the album, the final track, Making Love. Mike, why don't you start the discussion on this one?
Yeah, look, I think this song totally kicks ass. It's another one. To me, Paul kind of gets that Led Zeppelin vibe a little bit on this song to me. I think the whole song to me is great. I love when they do it live. I love the way he does like the change in the chorus. Everything about this. It's a great album closer. A+. Awesome song to me. Everything about it's awesome.
Yeah. The riff, never understood why they did it capoed at the first fret, but that's just me. Yeah, this riff is insane. We actually played this in Australia with Ace and Gene at Soundcheck in Brisbane, and Ace burnt the solo to ash. It was absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We played it super high, like super fast.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just messing around. It's on YouTube, probably.
Well, that whole rehearsal is on YouTube.
And
You know, when you guys are meeting Ace for the first time, and there's like 100 people, and they're just fucking watching.
No, this is the one where we did it. It was the last show. And
Oh,
it was
okay.
After we sound check, and it was Gene and Ace came out together. We were playing Who songs and Zeppelin and Hendrix. And
Okay, I might have had the story backwards, but I've definitely seen that video of all of them.
Yeah, but it was really cool. Great, and what's cool is because this solo is different than the Alive 2 guitar solo, and they're both literally just on fire. They're so great, and I love how at the end it goes into halftime. Blink, blink, blink. It's such a cool, odd thing to do at the end of a rock track.
Right.
Let's cut it in half.
You think that had something to do with it being on the end of the album?
I don't know. It was such a cool way on the fade out. You can hear it. It's such these big overdubs like in half to emphasize the halftime. Great arrangement. Just sounds great. Awesome vocal.
Matt, I'm thinking I think it was today or yesterday, I forget what day it was, you posted a Led Zeppelin video where you're playing drums and you were asking people what's your favorite Led Zeppelin song. And I commented Communication Breakdown, right? I love that song.
Right.
And to me, I don't know, I'm not a guitar player, so you guys could tell me I'm nuts, right? But to me, this is like Kiss's version of Communication Breakdown. It just I always made that connection in my mind. And again, I just love this Kiss.
I can see that with the kind of chugging on the low E.
Paul has said this was a Zeppelin inspired riff.
Yeah.
But Paul's not shy about how much he likes Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know whenever they started doing the Alive 35 tour, they were doing a whole lot of love on that at a lot of the shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul killed the vocal on that too.
Yeah, it's a killer riff. Great riff. I just hate when the girl says wait. I mean, that's another just great fucking teenage lyric. You know what I mean? And yeah, the ending is interesting with the drums. And again, Peter would do that. There's only a few drummers that were kind of, I guess, comfortable or thought to do something where they weren't playing the cymbals. They weren't going through the thing. He just he just stopped. And there's can't think of the other songs off the top of my head, but where the chorus is like just flams, it's not even like a beat. It's not a groove, it's just a kick and flams. And of course, as for drummers, it has that, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, here's every drum, like my thing is always, okay, I could get an extra thing, but am I going to actually hit it? And like for him, it's like, yes, that one song I hit every single drum. So yes, I need all these drums. I do.
I need 8 toms.
Yeah. And Eddie Kramer too was really good with the delays. And so like Paul ended up, doing it differently live, but there's all those vocal delays that really just fill that space and are really part of the song. As a kid, I thought he was singing it. I'm like, God, how's he not out of breath? Like he's singing the whole thing, but they're all little vocal delays. And it's like, yeah, it's really cool. It's cool.
Well, cool. That's the last track on the album. So kind of bouncing back to what I was saying a second ago in Jeremy's text. So from the first album to Love Gun, where are you guys putting this in your Kiss catalog? Number 1.
This flip-flops for me between Hotter Than Hell and Rock and Roll Over is my number 1 all-time album, any band.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, well, like we said last time, we all gave a rating, and then Alex, I think, was like, "Oh, can we use Alive?" Yeah. Oh, then that's my first. Everyone changed their vote. So taking Alive out of the mix.
Right.
Yeah, this was my number 1 for years and years and years, and then in more recent times, Hotter Than Hell, kind of. But if I got a go-to album, yeah, it's this, and it's one of these things. Certain bands get into little moments like this. Sometimes it's a record, sometimes it's a couple records. It just sounds right. It feels right. Like everything was right, and they just got it right. And it sounds like Kiss, even if, if some of the guys feel like it was kind of not produced enough or could have sounded bigger or whatever. It's like, you know what? That just kind of sounds like 1976, 77. It's just like rock and roll,
And that's one of the comments I remember reading from Paul today, was that he wasn't like super happy with the production sound on this album. He actually compared it to Zeppelin. He's like, I didn't feel like there was any reason we couldn't have an album that sounded like a Zeppelin album. He's like, we were one of the big bands of the 70s, so why didn't our albums, like the production sound, reflect on that? But I love Hotter Than Hell. Hotter Than Hell is my favorite one. So the production just adds to the album, man. I think if you start polishing it up too much, it takes away from some of these songs.
I like how the guitars are so clean. They're almost like cleaner than AC/DC clean, and they're loud. Like there's no, these are probably, Marshalls at 12 o'clock. There's not a lot of breakup, but I love it. They kind of show how Humble Pie they were, because Humble Pie never was like on studio records full on distorted. There weren't really a lot of distortion boxes and shit yet. So.
Yeah, and it takes some balls to play that clean as a guitarist, because you can't hide behind that gain at all. It's you have to be spot on when you're playing that clean, and that's why Angus is one of my favorite guitarists, because it takes a lot of balls to keep your gain and your treble rolled back as much as those guys do.
Yeah, and you can do, when you have guitars that clean, like on this record, that just lets you be able to arrange guitars and layer guitars, and it's not making it muddy. It's making it bigger,
right.
But you're still not muddying anything up. So, yeah, it's really good. It's really engineered. I mean, you can't beat Eddie Kramer for rock and roll engineer. And yeah, they had a great team, and there was a good time in the band, I think, too, before anybody got off the rails too much.
Yeah, and this was also, besides the first album, this was the closest that they ever got to everybody playing their own instruments on the entire album, except for like Gene doing some rhythm guitar work on like Ladies Room and everything. But other than that, like every other album, there was a couple tracks on every one where it might have only been like 2 or 3 of them, which was always interesting. And I think the craziest thing about that is on an album like Hotter Than Hell with a song like Parasites, like I know it's an Ace tune, and Ace has since come out and said, he's like, sometimes I just had an idea how I wanted the bass to sound. But on a song that Gene sings, it's always weird how they had Ace play bass on the song that Gene was singing. You think that they would have had Gene on the track.
Gene, didn't care about that stuff. Even like John Bavois played bass on sometimes he'd hear it and go, that's great, leave it. He didn't. Whoever did it and did it right, that
He was happy, yep.
Yeah, and Matt, your drumhead last year was modeled after Rock and Roll Over, correct?
Yeah, I took those colors. I tried to use some elements, and I was like, nah, that's like, I can't get away with that. But yeah, just the colors, because again, it just, even the cover, it's just that orange, You know, you put the orange with the red with the blue, and you're like, oh, rock and roll over. I mean, I could see a sign for a sandwich shop, and I'd be like, oh, rock and roll over.
Yeah.
You know, like it's infused, you know. So yeah, and I think on the production discussion, I mean, I love production, and I love when something sounds amazing. You know, arguably Love Gun sounds better. I always felt like Love Gun was like a slicker version of Rock and Roll Over. It doesn't matter. It's not. Rock and Roll Over just sounds right. Just seems right. You know, it feels honest with whatever that means. You know what I mean? But I think we always in rock and roll, it's real important that things sound real and raw. Those words get used a lot, and it is. It just is. You know.
Well, it's a really live album. It's, you know, they were all cutting this together at the same time. And I think that reflects pretty heavily on the sound of the album.
Absolutely. You know, I can't find this magazine, but I remember reading a magazine article 20, 30 years ago, right? And maybe one of you guys have seen it. I remember reading an article with Paul Stanley saying they got this album title, you know, Destroyer was all those layers and all the different sounds, and it turned off some of the early Kiss fans, that sound of that album. It's funny that now every new Kiss album is, it's the next Destroyer. But at first, that album was not looked upon well by diehard Kiss fans. So when they went into the studio, I know I've read Paul Stanley saying they were going to rock and roll all over again. And that was the message to the fans. And then they turned it into Rock and Roll Over. So that was an article in a magazine that I read that. I'm like, oh, well, that album title makes sense now. I've been searching for that article for 20 years. So if any of you guys ever see it, holler at me.
I would suggest looking in old issues of Hustler, knowing that.
That's great. So you guys pretty much have the consensus that this is in one or two for you guys in the top 70s.
Yeah.
Any of you guys have the teardrop version?
Yes. Yep.
No, where is that? What where does that? Is it a
not.
certain pressing plant, or is it like an RCA record club? Or
It's an
what is it?
RCA thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that meant Paul killed somebody in prison, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait,
Oh,
was this the record that half of it on like the first pressings was fucking John Cougar Mellencamp? Was that this record?
No, that was, I think, Creatures of the Night.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Creatures.
American Fool. Yeah, because it was like the first couple thousand pressings were the first half of fucking American Fool by John Cougar Mellencamp, which is hilarious. That's a great album. That's a whole other episode.
Right?
Yeah.
But
I love to see it.
Is the tear on the front or the back, Mike?
Oh, now you're testing the memory.
I've never seen it.
I think it's the front. I'm almost positive it's the front, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong that's watching this. I'm fairly certain it's the front.
Now, Phil, go ahead, Matt.
I thought there was like a South American version too, where like Peter had like a little ketchup or something, like a little.
It was some picante sauce.
Right.
Yeah. He was having nachos earlier. Now the Japanese one, Ryan's got a great Japanese one. It's a Gatefold.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, wow.
It has a really cool live shot of the front three of Ace, Gene, and Paul.
Hold on, I'll go get it.
Here we go.
And while Matt's getting it, I love, and I forget what country it is, Venezuela, Argentina. They have a cover that's the solo album poster art. Have you ever seen that one?
Oh, that's cool.
I've never seen that.
Yeah. It's still all like the different pictures.
Oh,
from
that's
solo
great.
albums.
Oh, cool.
That's a fucking awesome condition too.
Maybe Matt has that one. He can go find it next.
Yeah.
So I think when I was on tour with Mr. Big, and a fan came up to me at the train station, was like, oh, you know, you collect records and you're a Kiss fan. I want to give you some records, you know? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, awesome. And he gave me this, and there were some other 80s ones, which I have some friends that do collect those, but I was like, that's cool. I'll just take like the 70s one. So here's the Gatefold.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've got to get that now.
And it's got that. And so and it's got the Obi strip, and I was so excited. And then I look inside and go, oh, it comes with a poster. I'm like, did it have the poster? I'm like, no poster. I'm like, okay, be nice. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it's got the sticker, and then you know, it's got the lyric insert. But there's a fold out poster, a live shot of them.
That's funny because every time I go to buy Kiss records now, I always hear Matt Starr in the back of my head, like, does it have a poster in it? And it always affects whether or not I'm going to buy it or not. It's like, if it doesn't have the poster, what am I going to buy it for? So one of the last ones I got was, you can see it behind me, the actual original Gene solo album, and I got one with the poster in it because I was like, I can't post on Facebook that I got it and didn't get the poster because I know Matt's going to ask me if I got it. Poster.
Yeah. So I think it's Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, and just double platinum. All the Japan pressings had posters. Yeah.
Dynasty had a really cool poster in it as well.
And I never knew that they had those were straight jackets, and then it got blacked out. And I saw the straight jacket picture years later, and I thought that was like a Photoshop thing. I didn't realize that was the actual photo.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So Matt, you're a big album collector. Help me here, because I was saying when you went to get that there's a version, and maybe it's not Rock and Roll Over, maybe it's Hotter Than Hell. You help me out. It's got the solo album artwork on it, like from the posters. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I mean I know those images, but what?
It's from like Argentina or one of those.
Okay.
And I forget if it's Rock and Roll Over or Hotter Than Hell. So it's a real cool album cover. But all right, never mind.
Yeah.
Edit that part out.
Yeah. Edit her out.
Edit her out.
So whenever you guys set this album up, whose pictures do you put at the top?
Oh,
That's funny. I just make sure the spine is facing the right way. But so technically,
It's Paul and Gene on top.
I never realized on the back it's flipped. So
I didn't know if that was on the record as well because it's
never realized that before.
There's not really a.
That's funny. It's like Cheap Trick, Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, exactly.
All right, we'll let you have the back.
Thank you, Phil. All these years, I've never noticed that. I'm like, wow, I'd never noticed that before.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed whenever I was looking at the CD was that when you flip it around on the back, that Ace and Peter are on the top on that.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, cool.
That's cool.
Good job.
That was
guys.
that was a lot of fun. So this sits pretty high up on the original albums for you guys, and like I said, I think the only one I'm putting below it, if we're talking the first one through Love Gun, is Destroyer. Because those first three albums to me are just, those are great. And Hotter Than Hell is my favorite one. So I love those. The production isn't that amazing on them. The first album, the guitars are super clean on that one as well. So
small, very tidy.
And I'm not knocking any of these albums. They're all fucking A+ albums to me. It's just if I'm having to rank them, the only one I'd put below this out of those original ones is Destroyer, but it's still fucking fantastic. That's not taking anything away from this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Before we get out of here, I know we'll just touch on it briefly. Yesterday was the anniversary for The Elder.
Mm-hmm.
Give me your quick, just if you can sum that up for each of you guys in just a quick little statement. Say something about that album.
I'll do a callback to what we were talking about earlier when we were talking about Destroyer, how that was a kind of big departure. They've always done that. I think The Elder was that just further in time, and The Rock was further. So they were like, okay, well, let's even go further like that. Maybe not a conscious Destroyer type decision, but I think it was that. I love it. I think it's cool that they can, do a record. I mean, even though it wasn't well received, they could do a record that far out of their, zone and have some really good songs on it and pull it off,
Yeah, that was one of those ones. I was 13, so there wasn't much talk about it. Like Unmasked, I heard I had some kids say like Kiss takes their makeup off, and I was like, oh my God, and I got it. And I'm like, okay, but where's the part where they take the makeup off? So and then I ended up finding The Elder, and I was like, okay, Paul's hand on the door, and I was like, all right. And there was no pictures of them. I think it doesn't matter now, but I think they could have done a photo shoot with them at that table or whatever, and develop the story some more visually so we could kind of get in there. Because to me, it was like all there was fucking wood. Like the whole thing was just a fucking, it's like a door and a table. It's like, okay, if you're a carpenter or,
respect the wood.
Yeah, you know what I mean? there was nothing. There was no chrome. If there was like chrome or leather or nothing, it's just fucking.
I'm
lumber,
never gonna look at that
so
album again without thinking it's just fucking wood.
it's just wood,
This is where Hatfield got the inspiration for "I Am the Table."
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
So I just I couldn't get the Oath riff is fucking awesome, and then it kind of goes off into a thing, and I get what they're doing now, but looking back on it though, A World Without Heroes is an amazing song. Escape from the Island's great. I is great.
I is fucking awesome. That is
Blackwell's cool. Dark Light is really interesting, and some of those other ones are cool. And then you hear the Who thing, like Paul's doing the Who thing in there, and so I get that now. So it's definitely grown on me. And I mean, I just think of Eric. I go, poor Eric. Like, I'm gonna make my first record with Kiss, and it's like, fuck. But he made up for it on Creatures, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Kind of piggybacking off what Matt just said, my opinion really hasn't changed from the day I got it in 81, right? I think where it hits and hits well, right? Whether it's pretty much the songs Matt just mentioned, The Oath, Dark Light, World Without Heroes. I thought those were all great songs. But when it missed, for me as a fan, man, it missed big time. And to this day, I cringe. And I know Kiss fans seem to love the song. I cringe when I hear Under the Rose. Oh, I hate it. And you know what? Again, I was always a big reading the liner notes guy. And Matt was just saying it was Eric Carr's first song. He has a co-write on that. And I remember thinking, man, this new drummer that they brought in, he must be horrible because Kiss never had a song this bad before. And I blamed Eric Carr 100%, which is silly now in hindsight. But 11 years old, I saw his name and I said, well, Kiss never had a song this bad, so it's that new guy's fault right over there. And it took Creatures for me to get over that, even though I loved Escape for the Island. But that song with his name on it, oh, that drummer sucks, But so to me, to this day, it's very hit and miss. Where it hits great, but when it misses, like Under the Rose, some of these other things, just
boy.
God. Yeah, just nah, no good.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that sentiment. There's some things on this album that you can appreciate very much, but when it misses, it fucking misses. That's a great Kiss tune, and it's so out of place on this album to me. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of the chorus in Got Love for Sale, how the vocals are kind of trading off like that. And I love those trade-off vocals where they do. And, they all were fantastic singers in their own regard. So that's a whole musical element of that song alone with the vocals is awesome. A World Without Heroes, I know we were just talking about some of Ace's acoustic playing on Hard Luck Woman. He does some great stuff on this track as well, which I think you kind of got exposed to a little more whenever they did the MTV Unplugged, and you could hear Bruce playing those parts more prominently than they were mixed on the album. So I think that's one of those tunes where you get to hear Ace, a little more technical than
on the other one. I don't know. Is that Ace?
I mean, as far as all the credits,
the solo is Paul. The solo is Paul, but I don't know the acoustic parts. I don't know.
Yeah. There's Ace's. As far as any of the credits I've read, Ace is on this song. But yeah, the solo is Paul.
I thought the solo was Paul. Yeah, good song.
Yeah, fantastic. Those 3 or 4 tunes are great, and Ace's song sounds like an Ace song off of any record for the most part. So very, very familiar sound with that one. But and I've learned to like this album a lot more than I did when I first discovered it, and I think that's the way most people get after time. And, I love the video of them doing the Oath on the cruise because going back to that Tommy Thayer video we were talking about where he's doing Name That Solo, he starts playing the riff to the Oath. And that's when he was like, me and Eric always push for songs like that. He's like, and he made a comment. He was like, maybe you'll hear that one day. He's like, maybe you'll hear it tonight. And then they ended up playing it later that night, which was cool.
Right.
And I love that intro riff on that. And going into the verse, I think it's a fucking A song up until the chorus. The chorus just gets a little fucking cartoony for me. I think if they could, that bridge too, I know we were talking about Gene doing those super high fucking vocals. And that's another one of those in the bridge right there with Gene doing that super high falsetto. But I think if they could have put a more, conventional chorus on this, then it would have got a little more love than it does, because it's a fucking great song up until that chorus in my book. And it's not a bad chorus. It just really doesn't fit with the rest of the song to me.
Well, Brandon, I'll tell you, I was on the cruise the year they did that. And, if anybody's been on the cruise, you could only go to one of the 2 indoor shows. So I always go to the second one. So the first night I was in the atrium watching on the screen, which you're allowed to do. And Paul starts announcing the song, this is a song off an album that, only you people on the boat have. And the people in the atrium start looking at each other like, no way. Could they actually do something from the Elder? And he's like, you're going to be in for a long ride. We hope you guys like this. And he goes into the riff that started the song. The atrium exploded with excitement. And literally, I'll never forget as long as I live, you had people going down on their hands and knees, bowing to the screen as we watched it. Bowing like they never thought I'll never forget that night as long as I live. So now I'm going the second night to see them. And they played like mid-set. And the whole time I'm inside that theater, I'm like, if they freaking drop the song tonight, I'm going to kill somebody. Right? I got to see this song live. And it was probably for me, hands down, the single most amazing moment on the cruise. I know you said you watched the videos and they're cool. Being there that night, especially in that atrium, and seeing people literally bowing and going crazy was just unlike anything I've ever seen at a Kiss show ever before or since.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think we were on that cruise, Matt. I think that was when we were on with Ace.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That was fun. It's fun.
It's a fantastic tune, and it's heavy as fuck. And just that. And Eric Carr doesn't really get a lot of spots on this album where he gets to shine. But I think that it's a very small part, but that transition from the intro into the verse, I love those hits on the cymbals. Bow, down, bow, this is fucking great. Yeah. That's one of Eric Carr's shining moments on the album that I think that's one of my resentments with this. It's like, you feel bad for Eric because this was his first fucking album with the band, and it's just not Kiss at all for like what people were used to. Yeah. But there's definitely parts that can be appreciated with it. There's some good tunes on it. And how consistently did you guys do whenever you were playing with Gene? I know I've seen videos of you doing it, but how often was okay? A lot.
Once we hit, we did it a lot in the States. Once we hit outside the States, we did it every show.
Nice.
We played it second in Australia. He redid the entire set one day. And it was awesome. We opened with Shout It Out Loud, and second was I. So we just ended, dun, 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 and then dun, 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 that started. It was just the best, 1-2 punch.
Yeah, and who was playing drums for you guys on that? It was Chris Williams, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I remember Jeremy talking about that because, the tempos were a little slowed down whenever you guys were in the States, and he said that Chris came in and didn't give a fuck, was just playing them just,
It was, we went back and he just went for it. And I remember that being a really good, because everybody there at those shows was a Kiss cruiser type person, a big diehard. And then once we hit it, once we started that groove, people kind of got to know what it is. Like, oh, this is I. It was always a big crowd pleaser. We played it and sang it great. We traded vocals. So we all traded the Paul parts. And Gene, I think, got his words right twice.
Nice.
And he had the lyrics in front of him down there.
Was that a tune that Gene suggested, or was that one that you guys were lobbying for?
I can't remember, man. That might have been one of his.
Okay, that's cool.
Great, yeah.
Yeah.
That one. So, or if we did suggest that one, it was one that that didn't require talking into. It was like, yeah, we'll do that one.
It blows my mind how even because Jeremy talks about how he wrote out all those fucking lyrics for those songs. How Gene would just have them there and just still fucking just blow them completely.
He would start singing. He would start singing first in that song, and we're like, "No, it's not you." And he'd sing the wasted line 4 times.
That's great.
That's the best line anyway.
We talked about this on the Hotter Than Hell video we did, the very first episode. You weren't here, Phil, but whenever going as far as Gene messing up the vocals on stuff, one of my favorite videos ever of Gene Simmons is, I think you guys were somewhere in Ohio, and maybe I might have that completely wrong, but you were doing Domino. And it gets because it changes kind of every time on that on the chorus. It's a little flip floppy, but on the very last chorus on that, he just starts singing. He's just like, whatever, and then goes into Bad Habit. And that was, dude, that is fucking fantastic. that's Gene as a person shining through on his performance right there.
Yeah, he's not he'll admit that he's pretty bad at remembering lyrics. I'm horrible at it. I can't either. So I definitely feel his pain when it comes.
Well,
to
I mean, you guys were doing like,
that.
it was like what, 76 different songs you guys did. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in the heat of the moment, you might not necessarily have the time to look down or make the conscious effort to look down at those lyrics. And then trying to find the exact spot you're in if you haven't been looking at the lyrics for the whole song.
While
and then,
wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, and there's no lights on you at all for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I think I talked about that on the Use Your Illusion video we did, wearing sunglasses on stage. When my GNR tribute played for New Year's Eve last year, they had this big bright ass LED light shining straight up at the front of the stage, right at this like metal pedestal that I'd jump on for the solos and the singer would get on, but they had this bright ass LED light, and the sunglasses mixed with that LED light, I could not see my fucking guitar neck to save my life. So I was just like avoiding that until I absolutely had to get up there, for like Sweet Child or something like that. So I can definitely relate to Gene on that, wearing the fucking sunglasses and trying to look down and see shit. So that even though it's there, it can still be a little difficult.
Yeah, his eyesight's great. You just couldn't see it.
Well,
and
cool.
Jeremy's handwriting is impeccable, by the way. So it wasn't his handwriting; it was his.
And the sheets were pretty big. They were like fold-out lyrics, weren't they?
Poster board sized. Yeah, we'd have them on hand, ready to go.
Now, sticking on kind of the Elder thing, the video of you guys playing Darklight on the cruise, Ace, now, did Jeremy write the lyrics for that? Because at the end of the video, Ace kind of bitches about the lyrics a little, where he's like, they put the lyrics on this side and I'm looking this way.
No, he had an iPad, right, Matt?
Yeah, is that because Rocco was doing it? Yeah.
It was one of those scroll apps, I think.
Yeah.
Gene, no prompter. He liked the board, but with Ace, he only needed what the hell? What the hell's going on?
You're still here.
Okay, cool. My Adobe thing for some reason I had to uninstall my reader.
Unacceptable, Phil. You're ruining the show. Now we got to start over.
How do I freaking rejoin? Oh, here we go. Hey, there I am.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you were there the whole time.
I
We could
can
see
see
you.
it flashing 12 o'clock. I can't see so good.
Nice.
But yeah, I think it was and Ace is pretty good for remembering lyrics. Actually, even like when we did the '78 solo record, he didn't need a lot of help or prompting. He would come back.
I would go out on a limb and say that Ace is better at remembering lyrics than Gene is.
Oh, absolutely.
And that, Ace gets some shit sometimes, but he really doesn't fuck lyrics up that much.
Brandon, you didn't go at that out on a limb there. I would say almost anybody is better than remembering lyrics than Gene. So, come on. I love Gene, but come on.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, I got to jump, but this is good.
So
It was a pleasure to see everybody.
Yes,
Thank you all for coming on. And real quick before we get out of here, the Christmas Expo 2020, December 18th and 19th, Sarasota, Florida. Tickets are on sale now. They're making some pretty big announcements about that this weekend. So everybody come down to Florida and hang for Christmas. I'll be there. First Kiss Expo I'm ever going to be at. So I'm stoked about it. But all right, we're going to go ahead and.
We'll miss you, Matt.
I know. I'm
going to come kidnap him and make him come. I'm just going to throw him in a bag and make him come down. But all right, cool. We can say bye off air real quick, but I'm going to go ahead and in the live stream and the recording. Thank you all for coming on tonight.
See you guys.